So there's a bunch of different ways that you could take the title to this video, and I want to talk about a few of them individually. This idea originally came to me because I want to talk about how bad transphobes are and how they conflate someone being trans to being a sexuality. They seem to think that one of the only reasons that anybody would ever want to transition would be to sexually please themselves. And I don't mean in the sense of, okay, you've transitioned for a little bit and you feel better about your body in sexual scenarios. I mean the type of people who say that the only reason that transitioning happens is for a sexual reason, that they view transitioning as some kind of fetish. Which I will say, transition for any reason that you want to if it's going to make you happy. I don't really care. But they seem to conflate that every single trans person does this. But I can say, at least for myself and majority of people, that's not the case. I've mentioned in the past, but I like to focus transitions a lot more on euphoria than on dysphoria. Because I feel that euphoria, while maybe not an entirely universal, is a more universal experience than dysphoria when it comes to trans people. We as trans people transition because it will make us happier. We transition because embracing the gender that we truly are will make us find our truest happiness. For my instance, I always felt such a longing and happiness at the idea of being a woman, and it turns out I'm a woman. But for me specifically, I also had dysphoria. I had this really uncomfortableness constantly with myself. I never felt correct. Everything felt wrong. When I looked in the mirror, it felt like I was staring at somebody else. It was a very empty feeling that I had constantly looming, not just when I saw myself, but nothing ever truly felt like I was experiencing it. It felt like I was just existing in a world that I wasn't meant to be in. Then I transitioned and everything got so much better. So yeah, it turns out I'm just a woman. And I know this is the case for many, especially with as many of you who have shared your journeys and your personal experiences with me in the comments, which I love reading, by the way. Gender and transitioning is a very personal journey that you do because it's ultimately going to make your life better and it's going to make you you. If you feel that transitioning would make your life better, would make you happier, would get rid of some discomfort you have, why not? Do it. You're the only one who can control that. If you feel that transitioning is the best for you, then go for it. A reminder that you do not need dysphoria to be trans. That's why I love focusing euphoria more on talking about my transition, because we should be focusing on the happiness that we experience rather than just all the discomfort. Not that the discomfort that some of us experience isn't important to discuss, but it's equally, if not more important, to emphasize those highs and the happiness that we experience from getting to be ourselves. Straying slightly away from the main topic, I did want to discuss for me specifically that I do feel like my gender and sexuality are slightly intertwined, but not in the way previously mentioned. I feel that I took a very different path than a lot of people did, from what I've heard at least, in the sense that I fully figured out my gender 2 years ago, but only up until very recently was I discovering my sexuality. It took me a long time to figure out exactly what my sexuality was and exactly what I wanted in a relationship. I thought I was pansexual for the longest time, and I don't think that was due to me being pansexual and my sexuality changing. I think it was more so I wasn't comfortable enough with myself to truly know what I wanted in relationships. But over time, through transitioning and through exploring, I'm a lesbian. I found out very quickly that I am a lesbian. I am very gay. And if you hang out in my streams or have seen any of my other videos, that's probably really obvious, but I think it's important for me to talk about my journey there. The other big topic that I'm sure a lot of you saw coming, given the video title, pointed out to me by my wife, nonetheless, by the way, was about chasers. To give a very quick rundown of what a chaser is, it's somebody who fetishizes trans people and only dates them for that reason. Usually a cis person who specifically goes after trans people and fetishizes them for being trans. This is why it's important for me to say that me being trans is not your sexuality, is not your fetish. I am trans for me. Don't sexualize me just for being trans. I should point out the reason that I mentioned cis people specifically is that T for T relationships are entirely valid, entirely normal, and entirely wanted. Hell, I'm in a T for T relationship myself. Trans people wanting to date other trans people is completely normal. We want to date somebody who has a deeper connection to us, somebody who has experienced that deeper level of personal findings that we have, who has that deeper level of related experience that a cis person just can't have. A cis person can read as much as they want about a trans journey, can look at how a trans person experiences euphoria, how a trans person might experience dysphoria, but ultimately it's not something they can truly encompass in the exact way that we feel it without personally experiencing it. And that is the reason that I'm T for T, and I know many others are T for T. It also boils a lot down to safety. There's a lot of times that we only feel safe near other trans people. There's sometimes that we only feel like we are seen as our true selves around other trans people, and that a cis person might have this underlying unconscious transphobia that they don't recognize that ultimately harms us. This isn't to say that trans people can't be chasers. It can happen, but if you're worried about it, you're most definitely not a chaser. Again, look at the reason you want to date trans people for reassurance. Is it because you want that deeper personal connection, that you want to feel safer, that you want to have somebody that you can just relate with more? Or if you're sexualizing or just objectifying them purely for being trans, not looking at their personality, not wanting to have that deeper relation of emotion and feelings with them, purely just wanting to sexualize them for them being trans. If you're a trans person, don't worry about being a chaser. You're most definitely not a chaser if you're worried about it. You just want to have a personal connection with somebody who's like you. And maybe with me explaining that, those among us who do want relationships can get them and can be happy and have people who can truly relate with them. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm sorry this video took a tiny bit longer to come out and maybe was a little bit shorter than you expected. Speaking of me being a lesbian, I just got back from visiting my wife for 2 weeks, and I've been caught up in a giant marathon stream over on Twitch, so I haven't really had that much time or energy to record. But I'm here, I'm back, and expect the next video to be even better than this one. I also want to give a special thanks to the following channel members. Thank you, Evie, and thank you, Prisma Mirage. I love and appreciate you all. If you haven't heard it today, I'm proud of you, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching.